Okay, so we are on lesson 2.3.1, finding equation given the slope and a point. So you're just going to follow along and fill in the information as you go. So 275 says down on the farm. Colleen recently purchased a farm that raises chickens. Since she has never raised chickens before, Colleen wants to learn as much about her baby chicks as possible. In particular, she wants to know how much a baby chick weighs when it hatched. To find out, Colleen decided to track the weight of one of the chicks that was born just before she purchased the farm. She found that her chick grew steadily by about 5.2 grams each day. So I'm going to underline that for later use because it's my first number. And she assumes that it has been doing so since it hatched. 9 days after it hatched, the chick weighed 98.4 grams. So again, I'm underlining the important information. Part A, it says, what is the chick's rate of growth? How fast does the baby chick grow each day? It said at the top here where I just drew an underline, 5.2 grams each day. So we're going to write that down. 5.2 grams each day. So then on part B, it says, before graphing, do you know any points that would be on the line? Does the line point upward or downward? How steep is it? So we know that one of the points is going to be at 9 days. The weight is going to be 98.4. And we know that chicks get bigger, so it's going to go upward. And then steepness factor is based on the slope, which is the rate of growth in this question. So steepness factor is going to be 5.2 grams each day. All right, so now we're going to actually graph this. It says draw a graph for the situation, label the axes. So on the bottom, that's going to be time in days. That's independent. And then on the y-axis, it's going to be weight in grams. So we've got some different pieces of information to go off of here. Normally we'd start with the starting value, meaning like where does it hit the y-axis, but we don't know. That's like what we're trying to find here, to find how much a chick weighed at when they were hatched. So we're going to have to start somewhere else. So we're going to start at this point and then go with the growth. So we're going to go to 9 days and 98.4. So 98.4 is a little over 95. Well, it's closer to 100, so I'm going to get close to that, but not exactly. So I'm going to go to 98.4. So that's about right here. Sorry, my dot's not great. That point about right there. And then we're going to go up 5.2 and then to the right one because it's each day. So we're going up 5.2 grams. Now, when we're drawing this, it's obviously not going to be perfect because we don't have like little decimals to represent anything. So we're going to kind of guesstimate here and get our points above. So you're going to put your points too. My line's not perfect. It's okay if yours isn't either. So, again, this isn't super perfect, but it says, what is the y-intercept according to your graph? So again, this is kind of estimates. We're around 50, so 50 grams. And then it says, when will the chick weigh 140 grams? So we need to go to 140 and figure out where that hits. That's about at between 14 and 15 days. For mine. And I can tell you right now, that's not exactly right. My graph is not great. So, but that's okay. We are going to look more into this stuff on the next page and get really accurate numbers. All right, so once you finish that, move on, and we are going to look at what if we were finding the equation without a table or graph. So it says starting over. So like we're kind of ignoring all the things that we just did. Part A says, since Colleen is assuming that the chick grows linearly, so as a line, the growth is the same each day, the equation will be in the form y equals mx plus b. Without graphing, what do m and b represent? Do you know either of the values? So m is the growth or the slope, and in our case, if you think about here, we said what it was the grams each day. So we're going to go back. M represents, M equals grams per day for this situation. So that's why it's so important to interpret things, because we can say y equals mx plus b all day for all kinds of different situations, but it doesn't really matter if we don't know what the specific situation is. So then B is the starting amount, and for us that represents the chick's weight at 0 days. So then the next part says, and then it said, do you know either of these values? So we do know M is 5.2, and then B, we had a guess, but we're not looking at the graph anymore. So like we do have a guess right here, but like we were saying, we're starting over. So we don't know that. We do know one of the points for sure, but that's not what it's asking. So we don't know this at the moment. So I'm gonna just put a question mark there. All right, so B says you already know the chick's rate of growth, right, from here. So then it says plug it into y equals mx plus b. What information do you still need in order to write the equation? So y equals 5.2x plus b. So if I really wanted to write in the equation, what's the other thing I need? The other thing I need is b. X and y would stay there. We would put the letters, but we definitely put in numbers for M and B. So we need B to be able to write our equation correctly. So that's the starting point or y-intercept. There's lots of ways to talk about it. So then part C, it says using point 98.4. So if we go back, that comes from, that comes from right here. So we're using the information that we had in the beginning there. Using that point should help you find the y-intercept. How can you use the point? So 998.4 is supposed to help us find what we need. So the way we can do that is we know that this is x and this is y, which could be used here and here. And then we can fill them in. So we can plug those in, and then once we plug them in, all we have left is one variable, b, and we can solve for that. So on part D down here, it says solve for it. So solve for b, the weight of the chick when it is hatched, write an equation of the line that represents that. So we're going to take what we had here, y equals 5.2x plus b, and then we've got that 0.998.4, which was xy, and then we're going to start plugging in. So y is now 98.4. We had 5.2 already, and then we're replacing x with 9, and then plus b, because we're trying to find b. That's our goal right now. So then we're going to do 5.2 times 9. So 5.2 times 9, let me make this a little bigger so you can see if you need it, is 46.8 plus b. So take a second to catch up if you need to. And then to get b alone, we're going to take away 46.8 on both sides. So this goes away and we get b equals 51.6. So we're going to just plug that back into the original equation from over here. So y equals 5.2 x plus 51.6. Now, if we go back, I'm going to come back to this, so don't worry, but if we go back, I said it was about 50, so it's not exactly right. It should be a little bit above. So that is really helpful when I can get accurate numbers here and be specific. So then the next part, it says use the equation to determine when Colleen's chick will weigh 140. So that comes from this question over here. We thought it'd be at 140 around 14 to 15 days. That came from here, but now we're going to get an actual number here. So when you're putting in grams, grams represents the y value, the up and down on the y-axis, if you went and looked back at your graph. So when I write my equation, y equals 5.2x plus 51.6, if I already know my y value and I want to know my x, because x is the time, I'm going to plug my y in for y. So 140 equals 5.2x plus 51.6. So then I'm going to solve for x, so I need to take away 51.6 from both sides because I am currently adding it. I get 88.4 on the left side. On the right, I have 5.2x, and then these have canceled each other out. The last step will be to divide both sides by 5.2. This cancels, and I get x equals 17 days. Take a second to get caught up on that. So what I said on my graph, yours may have been a little different. I said 14 to 15, and then the answer was 17. So obviously my graphing's a little off. But again, this is great to be able to use that. So now what we're going to do is some practice with this without graphs at all and just looking at numbers. So on the next page, 279, we're going to do A and B together, same idea. And then C you're going to do on your own. And I'm still going to write the work and everything. I just won't talk through it, and you can just check your work. So looking at the first one, it says 279, use this new algebraic method to find the equation for lines with the following properties. So we don't even have to work with decimals here, so it's much nicer. So you're thinking about y equals mx plus b for all of these. And we're plugging in all the information we can where we can. So the slope is m, and the points x, y. And all those things get to be plugged into that equation up there. So negative 50 is going in for y. Negative 3 is going in for m. And in between m and x, those are multiplying. So I'm going to multiply that by 15 because that's x. And then I'm writing plus b because I'm solving for b. So now I'm going to write negative 50 again, and then do negative 3 times 15, which is going to be negative 45, and then plus b. To get b by itself, I'm going to add 45 to both sides, and I get b is negative 5. And the whole point of this was to put numbers in for m and b to write our equation. So y equals negative 3x minus 5. That's our equation. You do not plug in numbers for x and y at the end when you're writing your equation. You only plug them in during your work where you're trying to find an answer. It would look kind of funny if I wrote my stuff like this. So I'm going to write it in red. So this is going to be wrong, but negative 50 equals m times 15 plus b. That is not it. That's not what we do. We want to write, again, filling in for m and b, leaving x and y as they are when we're writing out our final equation. So let's do this again, and then you're going to do it on your own. So a slope of 2, so that's m, passes through the point negative 9x, negative 52y. So we're plugging into y equals mx plus b again. All the parts we know. So negative 52 is y, equals 2 is m, and then negative 9 is x, and then plus b. So now we're going to do 2 times negative 9, so negative 52 equals negative 18 plus b. And then our goal is to get b alone, so we're going to add 18 to both sides because that will cancel this out. And we get b equals negative 34. So again, we're plugging into m, which was 2. We had that already. And then b, which was negative 34. So make sure you're writing minus there. Okay, so now it's your job to do part C. I'm going to quietly do this, and then you can check your answer. So you should be doing this on your own, and then checking what you did when you're done. So on the board is the answer, and then the substitute teacher can pause this if they'd like. And then you should be getting your homework for tonight. And if you have